Welcome to the PrivacyCast, the Data Privacy Podcast. You are listening to Season 1, and Season 1 is all about technology and data privacy. This is our seventh session, and our focus today is Middle East. We will talk about data privacy laws in the Middle East and how they compare with GDPR, PDPB, and the US laws. I'm your host Akarsh Singh. I'm a founder of Saro, a data privacy consulting company, and today we have with us Rakesh Jha, CEO of Privacy Virtuoso Global, a boutique privacy consulting firm. He is a fellow in information privacy and is an expert in HIPAA, PIPEDA, US GAAP, UK DPA, EU GDPR, and Qatar law in privacy. His major work involves being a privacy and trust engineer for developing and managing organization wide policies, standards, and processes. He has instrumental experience in the operation of data governance and information security departments of international organizations like NCR, Wipro, HP, AT&T, and T, and MetLife as a technical consultant. Today, our topic is data privacy in the Middle East. Over to you, Ricky, for a short introduction.
Hey, thanks, Akash. Thanks for having me. I think this is really so nice of you that you considered me. And these are exciting times, and especially discussions like this really helps to cascade the relevance of privacy in the society. And I'm really excited to be here, a part of this journey. Uh, I think you did fantastic, and I think you were very very I think elaborate in describing me. And then thank you for a very detailed introduction about me. But the way I look at myself is I'm a student of privacy, and I'm still learning and trying to make sense out of privacy as we evolve and as we work in the privacy space. Yes, we do a lot of work in the space of data privacy and protection, especially in the geographies of MENA region, Middle East and North Africa. And more recently, we have started shifting our focus to India with the upcoming bill in getting more gravity and rolling stone discussions in different forums. But yes, I think majority of our work really evolves and revolves around the Middle East as a market specifically, where we work with most of the regulators in Middle East. We do work with a lot of local players, a lot of system integrators, and the idea is that to provide them with an end-to-end privacy business. So I have a company called Privacy Virtuoso in India, which is especially targeting the market of India, likes of Japan and Japan, Sri Lanka, and other region. But we do have another company called PrivacyCast Ventures, which is targeted more specifically towards the Middle Eastern market. I think I hope I answered. It was introduction.
Yep, great to have you, Ricky, on the show. And I think
Yeah, thank you.
I've missed one line in the introduction. That thanks a lot for helping me in my journey as well. When I was learning, and I used to come back to you on LinkedIn and WhatsApp. So what should I do next? How should I take FIP? So thanks for that as well.
Oh,
You have
sure. No, I think I will charge you money, after 50 years probably. Yeah, but I think let's keep it going. Anytime, most welcome. I think I really like, as I mentioned, I think and I certainly look up to you. I think you're doing a fantastic job. Privacy is a new science which has evolved. It has a lot of interpretation issues, a lot of myth around privacy in the market. So it's people like us, who will really try to improve the posture of privacy, not into only into corporate, but in general in society. So I think yes.
definitely. We always start our podcast with one important question. So what is data privacy to you as a person?
Uh, Honestly, I think it may sound very bookish because, as you're aware, that we do a lot of workshops and we try to define privacy in different way. And I think God has been kind to me that in past few years, I have been responsible to also curate a lot of content in privacy. I mean, both with IAPP, a lot of other universities, a lot of other regulators, and one of the things which everyone try to do or deal with is that they try to define privacy. Now we all know that there are two standard way of defining privacy. The easiest way is that privacy is a state of mind, right? And the other way to define privacy is that it's right to be left alone, right? But what a lot of people really miss in that those two definitions is that they both of them they talk on the extreme side, right? One is very subjective and one is very objective, right? So when I say privacy is a state of mind, it is very subjective. We really don't know that, what is your state of mind. So if we have, let's say, 1,000 people in the entire universe or known universe, right? So we have 1,000 kinds of state of mind. That means that we have 1,000 definition of privacy. So the way, at least the way I see privacy is, that it is nothing but an extension of requirements or needs in the market, in the society, when data was treated like a commodity, right? At some point of time in society, industries, corporates, large organizations, they started dealing with a lot of data, and someone probably came up with this innovative idea, and they started treating data like commodity, right? And that's where these funny definitions like data is oil and all those things, and they started accumulating in the society. But when data became a commodity, the privacy really came into the market. So for me, I don't have any emotional attachment to privacy. I don't have any I would say any state of mind oriented definition for privacy. But I do feel that, yes, the way, when automobile came into existence, and when car safety really popped in, right? Car safety really popped in when automobile gained a lot of speed. They attained a lot of technological advancement, and that's where people thought, like, hey, what, now we have car which can run on certain speed, and then people can die, and there's a liability attached to it. So we should talk about car safety, and we should talk about car safety compliance, right? I think similarly, in the speed of technological advancement, or or Industrial Revolution 4.0, when data became a commodity, the byproduct, or the need of a byproduct was privacy. So for me, today it's privacy. Maybe God knows, tomorrow, it will change something to something else, right? And then that's where we always try to say that, we sort of look into future. And for me, we don't talk about privacy. We are not calling ourselves a privacy company. We're calling ourselves as a trust engineering company, because somewhere in the bigger picture of trust, privacy will be a cog in the wheel, right? So I think
Right.
that's what we're trying to do. So for us, privacy is a component of a larger trust ecosystem.
Yep. I think well articulated when we have compared it with the car safety. So I also want to ask you one more thing there is, do you, so when the cars became so, when we had so many cars, we needed car security, right? We needed that ergonomics. So
Right.
we reached to that place in certain time. Like today we have some security, we have airbags. But do you think that in the race of data, where technological advancements were so fast in last 10 years, have we achieved that security? Like, have we achieved that speed, and we have reached that ergonomics? Or do you think we are far behind by years in achieving the similar amount of trust in data that we are giving to companies today as a human being?
No, I think, see, when there's a concept in engineering, we call them value sensitive designing, VSD, right? And from VSD, I think a lot of people probably know in the podcast will love to know that from VSD you get something as one of the type of VSD. We call them privacy by design. So privacy by design is nothing. It's not a new concept, right? It came in 1993 from Canada, but then essentially there's a bigger branch of engineering. We call them value sensitive designing, where the focus is that you try to create something. Let's say you're trying to create any value in the society, whether in terms of technology or system or procedure or a setup. If the system, setup, or procedure expects a certain sensitiveness to a human value, essentially what you're trying to do is a value sensitive designing, right? Now, privacy is a human value. We all know that. Love is another value. Hate is another value. So is anger, lust, anguish, jealousy. Everything is a human value. And if you really relate it with the relate the VSD principle with the car theory, right, you will realize that the evolution of car itself took a long amount of time, right? And security, or the expectation of car security compliance, or in general, whether all kinds of compliance which you could think of automobile industry, right? Whether it's pollution, or emission norms, or you could think of a brake safety, or car, maybe things related to pollution, things related to overall car safety, or the car theft security. I mean, there's so many kind of security involved in the automobile industry. They all came at right time when it was needed, right? It did not happen overnight, right? Like Rome was not built in one day. this is the same scenario. Probably I will take another example and I will try to converge both of them. That when you I'm sure you, in your consulting journey, in your privacy space, when you meet with a lot of people, and especially when India is coming with the privacy law now, a lot of people, they try to compare Indian privacy model with the GDPR, and that's the same thing which happened in Qatar, where Qatar privacy law came, Bahrain, where we work, Bahrain also came with the privacy law a couple of years back. And then Saudi is also contemplating some moves in privacy. Now, a lot of people, they look up to GDPR as a model, and they instantly try to compare it. But what they really miss, and that's where I try to bring the point, which you just which you try to explore in the question, that you have to understand that there is a time and there's no shortcut, right? Europe has a history of privacy which is almost 72, 73 years old, right? Right from the 1948 Universal Declaration of Human Right, and then till the time when the OCR thing started, and the Convention 108, and then they had their directive and the GDPR. If you just do a sum total of all the time duration, Europe somehow knew about privacy for almost 70 years, right? So for them, change was very subtle, and there was no element of surprise. For a country like India, for a country like for a lot of geography, in fact, if you compare US, where they do have privacy in bits and corner and bits and spaces, in a lot of documents, but for them, privacy is relatively a new concept, right? I mean, for them, security is a known concept, but privacy, they have expectation of privacy, but do they talk about institutional privacy? Do they talk about legislative privacy, or do they try to talk about privacy which is really coming from a legislation? The answer is gloomy. For me, if you ask me, the answer is no, because they had a very, very fixated version of privacy. So uh, no, I mean, the way I would like to conclude it, that it will take some time, it will not happen overnight, and the risk which I see, there's also a risk, which probably people like us, in this profession should be aware of. The risk attached to this entire thing is, uh, who will outspeed who, right? So there's a chance that technology can outspeed the legislation. So one of the things which happened in GDPR is very neutral, very tech neutral, very time independent. It does not talk about in technology, right? And the whole focus was that the GDPR will promote innovation. It will not become a burden to compliance to startup and all those things, right? But at some point of time, if you do a simple maths, you will realize that most of the privacy law across the globe, they talk about essentially those five, six essential basic principles, right? They're hinged on, they're based on the same set of principles. Now, can technology innovation really outspeed the needs and requirements of a law? I think yes, definitely they can. I mean, tomorrow, who knows that the way we think data, or the way we define personal data, or the way we think about metadata, it can be changed, or it may be changed to an extent where most of the privacy law which exists today will not make any sense at all, right? I mean, because if you look at any privacy law, it essentially depends on the definition of a personal data, right? The moment, if you as a consultant, if you're able to undefine and quote unquote undefine a data being a personal data, right? You can do whatever you want. None of the law will really apply to you, right? And that's where these anonymized and pseudonymized and everything is being debated in different landscape. So, final line on that question: yes, I do see that there's a time requirement, that it will not happen overnight, because it's a cultural change. It's a change in the mindset. It's a change in the way people perceive and think of privacy. Yeah, it's a right now, for any developing country like India, the biggest thing is people are in that phase where they are rapidly consuming technology, right? They are not rapidly understanding the repercussions and the risk, but they are in the process where they are rapidly consuming technology. Now, as a misnomer, is technology consuming them? We don't know, but yes, they are in a place. I mean, look at any average village in India, right? At the pace they have adopted to mobile phone. I mean, back in time, I recently went to a place, and I remember that back in time, in the same place, I mean, you could easily identify people with their cell phone, because some one gentleman or one
Right.
lady in this entire universe will have a cell phone, or probably have a PC, right? But now everyone has a smartphone. Everyone, most of them, they have a computer right now, which is essentially a bigger risk, because that drill down to one thing, that okay, will there be a parallel run? A lot of people were expecting that there will be a parallel run between the needs of society and needs of technology. Since the needs of society and needs of technology, they are no longer in sync, I definitely think that at some point of time, privacy and technology, they will be derailed completely, and they will go in complete opposite unsynced direction.
Right. I think that is a way that is something that is going to happen for sure. With the amount of data, with the amount of electronic devices that are around us, uh, I think there is no stopping to the technology consuming us now. I think that is something that I will definitely write down and use it for future
Yeah,
references.
I think and I was talking to a dean of a college because we were trying to create some elementary kind of I would not say privacy, but general digital awareness for people, because it was very funny that we did a study recently, and we did a study with a targeted closed group, which included engineers and people who have some sort of computer education in their curriculum. And despite of the fact that they have been taught about all those things in college school, the the muscle memory, right, or the adaptability or the use of that knowledge to their real life is absolutely shocking, right? On a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being lowest, 10 being highest, our score indicates that only 2.2 people, out of every 10 people, they really apply the things they have been taught or they have been educated on cybersecurity, privacy, or so many things, right? So the biggest concern right now is that how will people really, really uh, I would say, balance their expectation from technology or need from the technology versus a standard quote unquote security or compliance posture. So I don't see definitely that happening, because we talked about in the same survey, we talked about a lot of things, and one of the interesting thing was that people thought of phone, phone came in and people only talk about smartphone, but now uh, if you can do a maths and try to probably do a study, global study, where we just have to plot a numerator denominator relationship between that. Okay, every day, or let's say every minute, right, how many normal analog watches are being replaced by a digital this smartwatch, right? Let's say you, me, and all of our friends, we have 100 people, right? And 100 people at some point in time, obviously, if they like watch, the high probability will be that they're wearing a watch which is a standard standalone watch, right? But if you try to do a study within your own circle, you will realize that at least out of those 10, 15 friends you have, I think five of them or six of them, including yourself, they have moved to a smartwatch like iWatch or anything, right? uh, I'm not endorsing any brand. I'm not picking up on any brand name, but I definitely see a risk there, because slowly and gradually you are unnecessarily adding a lot of new components which can potentially be a vector for your trust issues, right? And that's a big thing which is happening.
Yep. I think going overall in terms of data, there is no stopping to it, which again is a repetition to the same thing. But I think when I think talking about a study where only 2.2 people are actually applying, I think this is actually true for me also. When I was in college and when I came out of college, I think whatever we were taught and what I know right now are two very different things. And this has happened with a lot of like rather than lot of, I think all the engineers who are there outside today. Uh, I think
And
9.5 out of 10 can confirm this, that whatever
and
was
Akash,
taught.
and see, I think the only 2 cents, probably, I just wanted to add that uh, I'm okay with the fact that there's a difference, right? I'm okay with the fact that there's a lag in implementation, right? What really bothers me, and probably I think from your own example and experiences, you can realize that there should not be a difference in what is being taught and what is being asked in society, right? The bigger problem is, so let's say you let's say hypothetically, you know what is phishing by the time you graduated from your final year, right? You knew about phishing and you knew about everything, right? And probably you never thought, because that's the underlying assumption with most of the societies operate, that okay, hey, it is happening with someone else, but it will never happen with me, right? That's the underlying theory, which was very much exploited in corona, right? Until unless somebody in your circle got corona, right, you were like completely arrogant and very bullish on the point that, okay, hey, what, I know corona exists, or probably I'm doubtful if it exists or it's a conspiracy, but it cannot happen to me, right? But when it happened to you, that's where the myth got demystified, right? Similarly with there's a lot of these scientific concepts in our world, data protection and privacy world. We read about breach. I mean, you'll be shocked how many times when we do a workshop for DPO, and when we educate about breach, they say, yeah, these are like fancy things for big organization, it will never happen to us, right? and without realizing the fact that they have been compromised a number of times, or they are being compromised as we speak right now. So that's the thing, right? That's the ignorance we live in, right? So to your point, if I know about fishing in my college, it's okay that I live in that image, in the utopia, that okay, hey, you know what, it will never happen to me, right? But the biggest concern is, have I been taught about fishing in the college? Because most of the curriculums, that's another thing which is off the topic, probably for some other day, but most of the curriculums, which is right now there in any universities and college, they are outdated. They are outdated, right? We're talking about, we are still talking about floppy drives, right? And the world has moved to SSD storage.
Yep. Uh, I think moving on to see, I have a few very important questions for you, because people who are listening
Sure,
to us,
sure.
they have stake here, who want to understand. Uh, do you see, as a privacy trust engineering entrepreneur, do you see a listing of jobs coming out in these markets, in North Africa, Middle East, and Indian markets in the next decade?
Absolutely, absolutely. I think in past, when I was really working closely with a couple of Indian government and semi-government organizations, I think when the bill was being contemplated, I will take geography specific answer. I will give you a geography specific answer. There's no generic answer, but let me pick up for India, for example. So I would say one of my team's concern, or my fellow fraternity's concern, for upcoming bill for privacy in India was, sorry, data protection bill, was that India as a country does not have that capacity to support new legislation, right? And to that point, what we really wanted to say, that hey, you know what, you will come up with a new law, but do you have the right kind of people who are trained to support the enforcement within your own, within your own judicial system, or within your own government structure, or within your own regulatory regime? Do you have enough people who understands privacy, or who have that bandwidth, and then they can talk about privacy, or they can understand the privacy issues? Similarly, does the corporate really have that kind of bandwidth? Do they have right kind of trained people? And to give you an example, on a very laymanish low scale example, that uh, security in India is almost now about to be 20-year old. Okay, so I'm talking about information security, not cyber security. Information security is almost about 20 years, or 2 decades. 2 decades. We have spent 2 decades in information security in India. Now, if you go and if you want to really find a reliable resource, whether you're talking about an information security consultant, analyst, or a CISO, or a security manager, you know, uh, at least my own experience would tell you that you will have a hard time to find a right deserving candidate. Uh, with obviously with the right sync of both pay and the skill, right? Those who are really good, they are very expensive, right? But we all know that on an average, industry will need one such professional, information security professional, wherever they are using IT, or uh, IT related technologies. So
Right.
it took almost 2 decades to come to that point where we don't have enough resources. Privacy is really limiting factor. We did a study, and the study indicated that India will need approximately 1.7 lakh professionals, 1.7 lakh professionals, uh, privacy professionals, when the law will really come into picture, right?
That's
To
huge.
support
Yeah.
to support the first phase, right? I'm just saying that to support the first phase, because be mindful, that in India will have linguistic issues with the privacy interpretation. We will have other things. So let's say, even if even Akarsh understands privacy, he cannot go to a state X in India and start working, because they will have their linguistic challenges, right? We all know that state-based machinery in India, they are heavily driven on a particular language, and they have dependency in all those documents, artifacts, and everything. They have a dependency in language, right? They have a dependency in creating awareness in a certain language, and there's a pushback to learn and unlearn, right?
Yeah.
So India obviously needs a lot of professional. We are already seeing that crunch in geography like Qatar right now. Qatar came up with the law in 2016. At the same time when GDPR was being debated. So Qatar came up with the privacy law, which is largely based on GDPR, and plus some appreciation for local cultural needs and local market needs. But Qatar heavily relies on privacy professional coming from Europe and places like India. Uh, one lockdown has really put a lot of debate that, hey, how do we want to really so resolve this privacy issue? Because right now in Qatar, the Qatar law is not really enforced and mandated to every organization. It's something which is
Right.
being done as we speak. But
Right.
I
Ricky,
definitely see that Qatar will need at least some good 500 DPOs in coming
yeah.
time.
So
Same for
Ricky, if
Saudi and
you,
other geographies.
yeah, sure. So I
Yes.
moving on. I think we are running on schedule. So Ricky, I have a very important question. Again, this is also very important for people to know because people look at you as a role model, right? When we look at privacy entrepreneurs out from outside, right? They always want to know what is your journey and try to. And my request would be to try to wrap it under 60 seconds as to how. If one should make a career like you in data privacy, what are those 5 6 steps quickly that they can follow?
I think I will be very quick. One, obviously, I spent a lot of time in corporate, so I will definitely request anyone. I mean, especially anyone who wants to build any career or anything in the regulatory compliance regime. You cannot afford to do all the mistakes yourself, right? But by that mean, I don't say that you start doing a job and try to leech on a client's money, but definitely you should work under a big corporate, or at least any corporate. Where you will work with mentors, you will work with gurus and people who have I'm very thankful to a lot of bosses which I had. I don't want to take names, but I think every boss really gave me some sort of learning. And then once you feel that okay, you're ready, you are expert in one area, or you are willing to spend rest of your life, or at least a portion of your life in that domain, then you should go and start exploring that area. And there are a lot of areas in compliance which you can pick up. But unlike product and unlike other industry, definitely you cannot just leave your college or school and one fine day you can think of starting this. You will definitely have to work under someone or some guideship or somewhere to understand compliance and regulatory regime. It's different than opening a tea store, or to opening create starting a new
Definitely.
apparel
I
company or
totally
something else.
I
Yes.
totally agree with you. Being in the same state, not the
Yeah.
similar
So
thing to do. Yeah, very, very difficult and very different industry. I think now moving on to our rapid fire round. So the
sure,
rapid
sure.
fire round is where we do not give you an option of
Okay.
thinking. So whatever comes to your mind
Okay.
the first, you have to speak it out. Yeah. So first question: why does your name start with Ricky on LinkedIn?
Well, that's an
Obviously.
interest. Yeah, no. So I think in fact, one of the biggest thing which I'm facing right now as we speak, because I am just coming from airport right now. So my MBA certificate, also has the name which says Ricky Rakesh Jha, right? Obviously, because when I did my MBA, I did my MBA from a corporate, and they gave the name by default, and it just came out with that name, right? And
Okay.
it stuck there. But yeah, why do people call me Ricky? And it's an interesting story. So we were two friends. There was a friend called Rikendra. I come from army background, and my dad used to get transferred every 3 years. So I did my schooling from KV, and there were two friends, Ricky and Rakesh. I mean, Rikendra and Rakesh. They used to play good soccer for school. He left. His dad got transferred, so he left the school, and people were under impression that it's me who is Ricky. And I'm talking about standard sixth and seventh, right? So I like the name, and I just kept it.
Okay. Moving on to our second question: Qatar or India? Which is your first country? Like
I'm a loyal
preference?
Indian.
Okay.
I'm loyal Indian, but for business, Qatar, right? And there's, I mean, absolutely, there's nothing to hide, nothing to do. I mean, it's a cost benefit analysis, right? If I spend 8 hours, I get 80 rupees in Qatar, right? If I spend 8 hours, probably I'll get 5 rupees here, right? At least in the privacy space. So
Right.
as long as I'm getting paid as a
Do you
businessman, Qatar.
moving on to the next question? Do you think data breach is unavoidable or is it avoidable?
Well, this is, I mean, definitely this can be a subjective question, but uh, to answer you in a rapid fire way, it is not unavoidable. Okay. Okay. So data breach will always happen, right? It is bound to happen. And interestingly, I think probably if one of the areas which the listeners can probably explore is that the context of data breach really gets covered or really gets impacted by the definition of breach, right? uh, there are interesting pieces available, or there's a copious amount of information available on the website. When you read about breach, you will realize that the data breach itself has transformed to its current state in last 50 years. There have been like almost 500 plus definition of breach over the history. So if you talk about a breach today, and if you use a definition which was used in 1950, the situation may not qualify as a breach, right? So what I want to say that, okay, over a period of time, the definition of breach will change, and breach will always stay.
Right. Thank you for that answer. And moving on then. To know more about trust engineering and data privacy laws in the Middle East, reach out to Ricky Rakesh Jha over LinkedIn. In our next
Sure.
episode, we have a special guest for you, so stay tuned to know more about technology that runs data privacy at the rate PrivacyCast. Just type PrivacyCast on any platform you use and you will find us. Over to you, Ricky, for a short thank you note.
No, thank you, Akash. Thank you. I really appreciate it. And I don't know how much I did justice to your questions, or if it was any value to our listener. But I definitely want all of you and encourage all of you to read about privacy. One thing I can promise you, especially for the young people, that privacy is going to be a massive thing in coming time. It promises you a fancy career. A career. It has a lot of interesting domain, and it is for everyone, whether you are an auditor, you are an engineer, or you are a management guru. You will find your way to privacy jobs in no matter what discipline you come from. If you have something to offer for a lawyer, we have something to offer to a MBA guy. We have also something to offer to a lawyer, or a engineering graduate.
It's a
We do have
package.
something to. Yeah, it's a package. It's a package. More recently we hired people from biotechnology background. So anyone, if you're able to stitch a story with privacy and whatever you work, you can reach out to me or Akash. We would love to help you on that.
Perfect. Reach out to me first, by the way, guys. Uh,
Yes, yes, always, yes.
no, no, I'm just kidding. Yeah. So I will thank you, Ricky, for coming on the show, and we have had a great time hosting you.